right, welcome back, everyone. Today we are with James Ryan, a full stack digital marketer and our CRO and ASO specialist. Today we're going to be joining him to dive into strategies to improve app user experience, conversion rate optimization, or CRO, and monetization. James, thanks for joining us today.
Yeah, great to be here.
All right, let's dive right in.
Yeah, let's dive in. All right, so just kind of at a high level, a lot of key strategies you want to be looking at in this area. Again, we'll dive more specifically into these different aspects, but there's some very kind of basic high level things. Really critical is analyzing your customer behavior, your user behavior. You're going to want to make sure that your UI and UX is optimized. More and more these days, people are looking for a personalized, customized experience. So you got to focus on that. All this is kind of the mechanism for doing this is your A/B testing. At all levels, from your marketing, how your marketing is being presented, to your pricing, to your tutorials. And again, not everybody has a ton of time for this, but the more of this you can do, the better off you are. And the kind of the end goal of this testing and optimizing is to find that hook. If you're not familiar with the concept of a hook, there's books written on this, but the whole idea is with any kind of web app or mobile app, you want to have something that hooks them in and brings them back, preferably on a daily basis. The more engagement, the better. But like, what is that thing that you're going to find that you're going to be able to present to users, drive them towards, that's going to get them coming back, which kind of leads us into engagement marketing. So there's, apart from, your product has to be designed to hook people, you can supplement that through lifecycle marketing and messaging people in a variety of ways. And there's, again, tools and platforms that will help you do this. You can set some of this up manually if you don't have a budget for a tool, but there's a lot of tools now that are increasingly, cost effective. Some of them are, we use one that's driven by AI, so it really limits the amount of bandwidth you need to get it up and running. But there are a lot of touch points, push notifications, in-app messaging if people are using it. Again, people have moved away from email, but email is still an effective way for certain customers to get them engaged with your app on an ongoing basis. And then one really critical area to do this, CRO optimization is with your purchases. Obviously, if you're trying to monetize through a subscription or in-app purchases, if you don't have that optimized, you're not going to be successful. And there's a lot of tools to help with that optimization, through offers and promotions. And we'll in the ensuing modules we'll touch on all these different strategies. And again, underlying all of these is understanding your users. And again, if you're a web marketer, just getting into mobile app marketing, this is something that you already know from the web, but it's even, I think, more critical on mobile apps because they're very personal. They're on their personal device. They have personal relationships with their apps. They're integrated into their daily life. So it's really critical to understand that customer, what they want, customize, to that customer. The app stores have, some kind of high level stats, some more granular stats. That's a way to start, but typically you're going to be tracking your user behavior, with some other kind of proprietary, in-house tool, Firebase or whatever it is. A lot of tools out there for letting you get insights kind of deep into aggregate customer behavior as they move through and use your app. So again, the onboarding experience is important for websites, but hypercritical for apps because people will abandon you very quickly if they don't understand your app, or you have like a lengthy, complicated onboarding experience that doesn't seem to provide any value. So you really need to simplify that at all the steps of onboarding and provide a certain amount of value to the user during that process. So, typically you have some kind of sign up or registration process so you can communicate later with your users and identify them individually to customize the experience. But the more you can kind of simplify that process, the better. And we have a whole kind of program for how we can help you with that process. But that's kind of where it starts, is getting people, quickly signed up. And you want to, during the onboarding, you want to, again, in a simple way as possible, kind of guide them through an experience that's going to introduce them to your top features. And often if you have, some apps, as hard as you try, there's still some things that are a little bit difficult, Maybe there's, I worked with one company recently where you had to change all these different configurations in your settings. So it was very difficult to set up. So, what we ended up doing is creating like video tutorials that would pop up as people were going through this like onboarding and setup, because it was really critical to understand, how you did that, and make it easy for people. The more you can personalize this as early on as possible, or give the impression that you're personalized. So there's there's a lot you can do in a phase one experience where you can collect information, you can ask users questions, you can give the impression that based on their questions, you're tailoring the experience to them. Sometimes you can't have that ready to go out of the gate. You want to get a minimum viable product out there, and it may not be customizable, but you can still get a sense of who your users are. You can make it appear as if you're customizing, based on the questions you're asking, and then over time you can do more and more of that. But it's really critical to at least give the impression, and at the same time you're collecting data about the user as you kind of sell them in on your product through your onboarding. And there's lots of ways to offer incentives for people to get through your initial onboarding flow. It can be as simple as little digital celebrations that Apple has built into their iOS, or Google has built in little confetti parades and that kind of thing to just reward people, little congratulatory screens, audio sounds. I mean, there's all kinds of things to help people kind of get through that flow. Don't need to go crazy, but it really does, especially in this world where more and more things are gamified and people are kind of expecting kind of a joyful experience as they get involved in apps. Be cognizant of that and try to build that in where you kind of have time and budget for. And then again, as with everything else, we're going to discuss in these sessions, you can do a lot right out of the gate, but if you're not constantly optimizing and iterating, you're never, optimizing the experience. As you evolve as an app, as you develop new features, you constantly have to go back and make sure that your onboarding experience is introducing people to these new features as they come aboard. All right. So yeah, and so in terms of the kind of improving, this user experience, make sure your navigation is streamlined, your navigation menus are clear and understandable, your icons are universal. And again, this is sometimes hard to kind of tell on your own, and often you need kind of third-party opinions to kind of look at some of your navigation icon, have some user testing to make sure that it's easy to kind of find what you need within your app. Design is so important. I mean, obviously companies like Apple have really nailed this in all aspects of their marketing and product. We're not all going to be Apple, but as close as we, do put some investment into design and hiring a good graphic designer to help you with this stuff, because that visual appeal, right out of the gate and through the onboarding is going to really improve your conversions. And again, the more you can kind of customize this and make it interactive with users, particularly during the onboarding part, the better off you're going to be. One thing that you can do, and again, this is definitely valuable with your kind of initial presentation in your marketing, like your top of funnel marketing can have this, your app store images can have this, but also think about ways you can leverage your social proof during your onboarding. And again, that's going to really, really help you kind of move people through these kind of critical processes. Leverage your testimonials, your ratings, any kind of media coverage, any kind of growth statistics and metrics. As you're bringing people into your app, kind of remind them that, hey, this is an app that other people appreciate, and it'll kind of help kind of get them through that initial experience. As much as possible, you're going to want to personalize this. Leverage your data to do this, segment your customers if you can, or give them a sense that they're being catered to and content is being personalized towards them. There's ways you can kind of, again, fairly easily recommend content or features that are going to meet their needs and kind of match their profile, and just have this all be part of this kind of optimized onboarding experience. And again, we'll go more deeply into some of the stuff in subsequent modules. And just one little thing, this is from an agency that I follow. You kind of just looking at how you can improve CRO through different aspects and what kind of impact that has. So that personalization, is really important. Obviously, you're going to want to focus on those areas where you're monetizing, like you're optimizing the checkout. And we have a whole module where we're going to be looking at kind of optimizing your pricing and your purchase conversion, making sure your navigation is really right on, upselling people. Again, the more you can target that based on their persona, the better off you are. And then you can get that incremental improvement. Sometimes it could be 2% by changing the color of your button, or 3% by changing your headline, and all that adds up as you kind of micro tweak these different elements to get your benefits. And again, sort of looking at it from a high level, what you're going to want to focus on, it's really analyzing and knowing your customer. And again, you can do a lot of that by researching your competitors even before your app's ready to launch. The more you know about your potential customers based on what your competitors are doing and targeting, the better off you are. Quickly demonstrate the value. And again, if you can leverage like testimonials and that kind of thing to show people that other people, that helps with your overall kind of credibility. And again, your design and feel will help you with that credibility, starting with your marketing materials to your app store presence. Everything is going to build people's sense of whether or not this is a professional, credible app. The more you can, I think in this day and age, personalize and customize, the better off you are. The simpler, the UX experience, particularly during the onboarding, the better off you are. And then as you move people, from having a good experience with your app and optimizing them, that purchase page, if you're doing subscriptions or in-app sales as a way of monetizing, the more optimized that is and the more time you kind of spend on that, the better off you are. And then just, again, leveraging your lifecycle marketing. And we have a module that's going to explore that more in depth, like what you can do on an ongoing basis to be messaging people and again, tailoring your app experience so that it's not just look at, how can I get someone to install my app? How can I get someone to register for my app? But really, how do I develop a conversation with this person over time to improve my conversion rate? And again, that's a lot of what we do as we work with different apps, is to help them through that entire life cycle process from beginning to end to be converting at a more efficient rate at each touch point as they move through the experience with your app. All right, that's it for this module. And again, we have other modules where we'll delve more deeply into these topics.
Amazing. All right, everyone. We'll see you in the next module.